Screw it, I'm all in. I knew he had it. What's up guys, in this video you're going to be learning how to achieve a winning poker mindset. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. With that being said, let's dive into today's video. So what does a winning poker mindset actually look like? Having worked with hundreds of poker players over the past few years across all formats, I've identified 3 key characteristics of a winning mindset. The first of those is a high level of focus. The second is clear decision making, and the third is emotional control. So a high level of focus, you need to be able to keep your attention in one place at one time. Your results as a poker player are going to be directly correlated with how well you can keep your focus. In the modern world, there's so many things that can distract us. Your browser tabs, your phone, it's very easy to get sucked out of a high level of focus. So you need to train yourself to focus on just playing poker, just studying. When you're grinding, there should be nothing else in your way. Now with focus, it's a skill. So right now, you might only be able to focus for the first hour of your session or the first few hours. And you've got to train yourself to focus for longer and longer. And you've really got to understand that you need to score yourself every day. How well did I focus? Is it 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10? You've got to challenge yourself to train the focus muscle to get it towards a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 every time you're playing. The best players in the world have an amazing level of focus, amazingly high level of focus. So if you want to create a winning mindset, that's the first variable to focus on. The second component is clear decision making. As a poker player, you're going to be rewarded relative to the quality of your decisions. Good decisions equal good results. Bad decisions equal bad results. Pretty obvious, right? But a lot of poker players get very sloppy with the way they make decisions. They autopilot way too much. They think, oh, I know how to play this spot, and they'll just call or bet or bluff or just play the spot autopiloted because they think they know what they should do, and they haven't gone through a clear thinking process of how to play that hand or play that spot. And often emotions get in the way, which I'm going to go into in a second. Now, your decision making is often very closely correlated with your focus. So if you scored your focus for a session and your decision making, if you had a high focus score, you'd probably have high decision making. But it's not always directly correlated. Sometimes focus can be high, but you're just sloppy with your decision making. It's just low. So you've got to really challenge yourself. Am I making the best decisions possible? If not, why not? What's the process I'm going through? What's the checklist I'm ticking through every time I'm making hands? Is that clear enough in your head so that every time you can make a very clear decision in each spot you're in? And the third component of a winning poker mindset is your emotional control. Can you stay in control of your emotions no matter what happens? I can guarantee you poker is going to challenge you. It's going to put you in some tough spots. Things are going to go against you. Someone's going to hit a 2-outer. You're going to go on some bad runs, and how well you stay in control of your emotions is super, super important. So these 3 variables, your focus, your decision making, and your emotional control, should be scored every session. You should evaluate how you played based on these 3 variables. And if these are high, that's a winning poker mindset for that session. That's a winning poker mindset for the session you played. Now, knowing what a winning poker mindset looks like is just one part of the equation. It's good to know what your A game looks like, but what stops you getting there? So the goal is high focus, high decision making, high emotional control. But there's 3 things in particular that can really throw this off. The first thing that can create a losing poker mindset is tilt. The second is fear, and the third is thinking errors. Now, tilt generally in a poker context refers to losing your emotional control and getting angry. A lot of tilt shows up in forms of anger, rage, spewing off buy-ins. Depending on how emotionally advanced you are or how much work you've done on your mindset, this is going to vary on degrees. But a lot of players have issues with tilt, whether it's winning tilt, running bad, whether some form of negative emotions come in. Now, with all the things that can stop you from having a winning poker mindset, it's all due to thoughts and emotions. Thoughts and emotions. So tilt is hitting that emotional trigger. It's like triggering you emotional responses, which then impacts the way you think. So you've always got to remind yourself that emotions and thoughts are like this intertwining relationship. So when you tilt, your thoughts get directly impacted. So that's why, negative emotions equal negative thought patterns, which equal bad decision points. So you need to be able to understand what triggers you, what tilts you, and to come up with kind of coping mechanisms that stop you. So what you want to do with tilt is identify the situations that cause your tilt trigger to go off, come up with new thought patterns that could replace those old ones, and work through it situation by situation. I won't go too much into how to fix your tilt issues because I think that's going to be beyond the scope of this video. The second component of a losing poker mindset is fear, and fear shows up in many different ways. It can be fear of losing, it can be fear of making mistakes, It can be fear of judgment, fear of looking bad, fear of success even. So you've got to understand, like, we all have a relationship with fear, but a lot of poker players have a very toxic relationship with it, and it will stop you achieving that winning poker mindset that you're after. So how do you handle your fears? What fears hold you back? Have you got a list of the biggest fears that you have right now? And you've got to really highlight them, because fears, they often lie below the surface, and then once they get really big, they become this emotional situation, and we feel them in our body. So understand what fears you have and how they could affect you from playing your best poker. And the third component of a losing poker mindset is thinking errors. Like I said before, negative emotions lead to negative thought patterns, which lead to suboptimal plays. So if you're making thinking errors, it could be stemming from the emotional state, or it could be coming just from the negative thoughts that you generate anyway. Most players make thinking errors when their emotions are elevated. So these all link together. The tilt, the fear makes you have thinking errors, which then leads to you making mistakes at the tables. So you've got to identify what are your common thinking errors. All poker players are different. Some players will call off too wide. Some players will get more aggressive when they're losing. Some people will try to chase their losses and make back wins. Some will use confirmation bias to make light calls on the rivers, meaning you've seen a few bluffs come through, you're like, you must be bluffing here. You've made a thinking error based on small sample size and bad information. Now, in order to create a winning poker mindset, you need to both ramp up the good and weed out the bad. So you do need to train yourself to have a high focus. You do need to make clear decisions, and you do need a strong level of emotional control. You've got to train all these three variables every session you're playing. You should be challenging yourself to increase those scores every time you play. And on the flip side, you need to weed out the tilt, weed out the fear, and weed out the thinking errors step by step. If you can work on both components equally, you will have a very strong mindset going forward. So what I want you to do right now is write down where you're currently at for your focus, your decision making, and your tilt control. Give yourself an average score for the past month. Create a scoring system, so every day you can score yourself in those three variables and see where you come out over the course of a month. Your goal is then to increase those scores going forward over time. Then on the flip side, I want you to create a tilt profile. What makes you tilt? What situations trigger you to have a negative emotional response or a negative thought pattern, or to play suboptimally? And write those down. What thinking errors come up and what causes them? When it comes to weeding out the bad, the thinking errors and the tilt, you've really got to start writing down the problems that come up, because you're going to be having unique problems. You're watching this video, you have very different problems to other people. So write them down, write down what the current problems are, and then come up with a better way of dealing with that situation in future. So that this situation caused me to tilt, this is how I currently deal with it. How can I inject a logic statement? If I was in that situation in the future, how could I deal with it better? Now, I'm not going to go into super depth in this video on how to overcome tilt, fear, and thinking errors, because that's a whole coaching course in itself, but hope this gives you an overview of what a winning poker mindset looks like and gives you some action steps to start working towards. Now, if you enjoyed this video, there's a great chance you're going to like the quiz I put together in the description. It's called What Level is Your Current Poker Mindset? Answer a few questions and it will tell you what level you're at right now, and more importantly, it will tell you what to do to improve your poker mindset to step up to the next level. This whole channel is dedicated to helping you guys step up your poker mindset. I want to increase your awareness and give you the steps you need to take in order to take your mindset to the next level. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you smash the like button before you go so that the algorithm likes you and gives you my future recommendations. There's going to be plenty more coming from me very soon.